What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, I want to give a shout out to a couple of subscribers. For his donation to the channel, $20 donation via the Cash App as well. So salute to all you guys for showing love to the channel. All right, so I saw Ticket TV talking about this case, and this is the situation involving, I think the rapper name is David, or singer named David, and of course, there's some suspicion involving him and the disappearance and death of the girl on the left that you see here. Her name was Celeste Rivas. And she would be about, I think, 15 years old now. She was alive. The last time that she was seen in public, I think she was 14, I believe. I believe she was 14. When she met David, she was 13. And as you can probably surmise from David's picture, he is not underage. So, there's definitely a lot of potential scandal here. Now, her remains were found in David's Tesla that was found near I think it was a construction site, I believe it was. And I think it was found, her remains were found sometime in either late August or early September, I think it was. And by the time they found her remains, they were very, very decomposed, to the point where authorities couldn't determine at the time whether this was a male or female. They later determined that it was Miss Rivas. There are now reports showing that when they found her remains, they were partially frozen, indicating that before her remains were stored in the front compartment of the Tesla, she was frozen. Now, of course, we don't know exactly when she was frozen, but obviously, if she had been frozen at some point in time, then it's harder to determine exactly when she died. Because as we all know, usually at the point of death, decomposition begins. But decomp is stalled when a corpse is frozen. Now, I'm just going to make one assumption here. I'm going to assume that the combination of the corpse, or her body, whatever you want to call it, corpse melting, plus I believe at that time it was hot. It was still rather hot. That is what accelerated the decay. The moisture from the water melting, the heat, that bacteria and things, germs starting getting to the body now that hadn't gotten to it when it was frozen in solid ice or just frozen in general. Those things accelerated the decomposition process. I'm just making these assumptions. Prior to that, she may have been, at least what was left of her, pretty well preserved. I also found out another unsettling detail. She had been decapitated. So the only thing that was in the storage was her torso and her arms, but they were cut up in segments. So look, I don't want to speculate too much on here. I don't want to speculate too much, but I'm just going to say this. There are a number of things that could have happened here. A number of things. David could have been set up. This could be a situation where I'm not saying David's an angel, but this could be a situation where somebody that knows David, that has connections, could have been. I don't, it's hard to do this. I mean, it's hard to kind of put these different scenarios out here, but I know all signs point to, I know everybody want to point a finger at him, but you have to have concrete, actual evidence to charge someone with a homicide. They're not even certain if she was unalived in a brutal manner. You know what I'm saying? They're not even sure of that. Because now that they can't determine her cause of death, even though they might still charge someone with a homicide, you can't definitively say that it was a homicide, which means that there's a possibility that they may never bring up formal charges against anybody. But going back to what I was going to say, it could be a setup, possibly. It could be somebody that is within the industry. Let's just say they was with her in a manner of speak in some way, and let's say she overdosed on something, and you can't call the authorities in that situation if you're with someone that's underage in a certain incriminating manner using illicit drugs. So instead of calling the police, they tried to dismantle and dispose of the body in a methodical manner. Because definitely when you introduce thawing into the situation, there's somebody that's used to doing something, almost like a cleaner. It could be possibly, and these are all just possibilities, right? I don't want to introduce things like I'm saying it's fact, but it could be that her remains were not intended to just stay there in their Tesla, but unfortunately, the heat and the environment caused the decay to happen faster than they thought, and the smell hit, and that's what could have altered whatever further plans they had at disposing the body. Was it David completely? No, I don't think so. Now I'm seeing that there supposedly is a second person of interest. They won't name the person. So at the end of the day, like I said, I don't know what happened, man. All I know is that this was a young girl, a young, beautiful girl, whose life tragically ended. And whatever the case may be, her family, her so-called friends, Society let her down. They failed her. Um, I also have to say this too. While this is a notable case because there's a singer of some sort of notability involved, these types of situations unfortunately happen more frequently than you think in this society, where these girls disappear under the radar and, you know, they're never heard from again, and people possibly get away with doing the unthinkable because most of society really don't give a shit. And you know how I know? I did a video last year or the year before that, begging my subscribers to listen to a video about all those girls, all those children that were disappearing from Ohio, and the video only got 700 views. And the only thing I'm going to say too is, oh, by the way, the only reason why I kind of know something about freezing of bodies is if you've ever, well, if you just know anything about biology, number one, and also if you know anything about listening to crime stories, in particular the Richard Kuklinski Iceman thing, the documentaries, the Iceman, Richard Kuklinski would purposely freeze his victims to fool police and authorities as far as how their time of death. He would have sometimes had people on ice for years and then thaw the body out and then dump it. And then authorities will think that the person had been a fresh victim, only to find out that that person had been actually unalive 2 or 3 years earlier. So I know that alters freezing of the body. It alters and it prevents authorities from knowing exactly when that person actually was deceased. But it's just sad, man. It's sad. I know people want justice in this situation, but you know. And I'm gonna tell you one other thing too. I was gonna say, but I kind of got sidetracked a little bit. The fact that she was underage, and the fact that this guy, singer David, has ties to the music industry. And if you know anything about the music industry and the alleged squads that they have and the cleaners, I'm just saying, if you notice anything about some of these articles, the articles, if you read between the lines, a lot of these articles are going from witch hunt mode to making you comfortable with the idea that we will just never know what happened to this young girl. Well, we'll just never find out. And maybe it's because the people involved are too important. If they really did digging, if they really looked into it, it leads to an area that is a little bit unnerving, way beyond David. You know what I'm saying? Way beyond. I'm just putting that out there. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it. I'm gonna tell what you guys think.